resiliency in the age of COVID-19. So today we're pleased to have Dr. Valmich Towner, Office of the President, Coahoma Community College, Mr. Marcus Ward, Vice President, Institutional Advancement, Executive Director, ASU Foundation, Inc., Alcorn State University, and Dr. Leon Wilson, Provost, Tougaloo College with us. So let's jump right into the conversation, gentlemen. Mr. Ward, what are some of the challenges that your institution has encountered as a result of COVID-19?
Well, thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you to all of our fellow panelists and to One Voice, the Mississippi NAACP, for having us this afternoon for a very important discussion on the strength and the resiliencies and just the persistence of HBCUs across a number of challenges throughout our history here in the United States of America. At Alcorn State University, we have, of course, felt the impacts of COVID in a number of ways. All universities throughout the nation made the impromptu adjustments to suspend in-person classes following our spring break. And that disrupted our students' ability to learn. It also impacted us in other areas, particularly in the area that I work in the advancement area, giving, with all of the issues and impacts for people in their economy, their jobs, where they're working. It had a slight impact on our giving as well. But we are, as at Alcorn, we say we've battled against great odds. And so we've withstood everything from Jim Crow to the Civil Rights era to the Great Recession. And we think that based on our resilience as a university and our mission to educate young people for the global marketplace, that we're positioned to not only withstand this particular pandemic, but to come out stronger on the other side. We're prepared to endure and to come out as a strong university focused on helping our communities. One final impact I would say is that as a university, having people around, our alumni, to come back for reunion weekends, to take in the breadth and depth of our university, students not having an opportunity to walk across the stage for graduation, that has been a major impact and concern. And of course, there are some financial considerations when it comes to the refunds that had to be issued because of some of the students having to leave and not take advantage of completing their semester, and as well as making the adjustments to purchase supplies and PPEs and all of those things to make the safety and sanitation challenges to address those.
Thank you. Dr. Towner, tell us about some of the challenges that you faced at Coahoma Community College as a result of COVID-19.
Sure. Good afternoon to everyone. I did tell the sentiments of thank yous for putting this platform together. And so delighted to participate even on a Friday evening. But, pretty much what Marcus has said is similar. In addition to that, I cannot overstress, since I think March 6th, we've been out of class, out of school, including spring break. And so many of our students were forced to go from, or all of our students rather, were forced to go from face-to-face instruction to some type of remote/distance learning format. It was tough. It's been tough for those students because many of our students have a preference for face-to-face. In fact, our GPA averages show that the modality of face-to-face, students who take face-to-face classes generally have a higher GPA. So just imagine students all of a sudden now that are in CTE courses, it may have been culinary arts, or they're in a high-end math science class. They have to go all online. And so we had to get them, they had issues with devices. A lot of students depended upon using or getting access to the internet via a cell phone. And so I would imagine maybe all of us on the call now are not on a cell phone. There's a reason, because we like a device, a tablet or something that's easier to use, user-friendly. So we had to, had a lot of challenges with that. I mean, And then not only with a device, but the internet, access to the internet. You know, they had the cell phones, but then they had skimpy or zero internet access. So I think that would be the two leading challenges that uh, we had to deal with and are still dealing with, is that, you know, to get them some type of device as well as to get them internet access, we had to develop uh, within our communities, just we call them virtual spaces where students could go to a parking lot and just have access to the internet. And so those are two number one challenges. In addition to, you had a lot of students who had family members that were laid off because they had some mode of working in which they could not work from home. They had to actually go in. So therein, you know, rest the or increase the financial challenge or challenges that our students that already face challenges. As a man told me, people are already having a hard time financially before COVID-19, and the virus itself exacerbated it even more so. And I definitely ditto what Marcus said too about the fundraising effort. We have perhaps not as near as sizable efforts as senior or IHL schools, but the things that we did do or do in the spring, we had to go to a virtual format. So it's a bit more difficult to get support financially on a virtual mode than you could face to face. So you know, it's been tough, and it still is tough, but we're persevering. You know, we are. I'm really excited and proud of our faculty and staff and our community. We just have come together, and we want to do what's right by our students and our faculty and staff in a safe way.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson, can you talk to us about the challenges at Tougaloo as a result of COVID-19? And make sure you unmute yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to represent Tougaloo and more broadly the HBCUs. I am very proud that you chose this topic to talk about. And let me say that I echo everything that my colleagues have already spoken about, we have experienced. In addition, I just want to highlight that the transition from face-to-face to online education presented its own unique challenges for faculty. Before COVID, we had about 56% of our faculty who were actually certified to teach online. And within a week or so, we had to get everybody up to speed. We didn't quite get 100%, but now 86%. So that's the blessing, in that those who were reluctant to get with the technology are now there. So in a way, even though it was a challenge, it is a blessing that now we recognize that this is going to be our new normal. And we always have to be prepared for exigencies like COVID that will push us online and make sure that the challenges associated with that do not totally disrupt the ability of our students to learn. Echoing the challenge of our community, putting students back home in environments that are not totally conducive for learning was one of our big challenges, not only in terms of technology, not only in terms of the internet, but just the spatial requirements for proper learning was not evident in a lot of our families' homes. And so in addition to all the things that were said before, those are two I would like to highlight. So.
Thank you. So you've mentioned some of the challenges that your students have faced. Can you, I'm going back to you, Marcus Ward, tell us a little bit more about what you've heard from your students. Were there some unique challenges that you didn't expect?
Well, you know, all of it was unique. As you can imagine, the entire experience has been unique for everyone. So every challenge that came along, we did not expect. Some things we you know, once the state declared that there was an emergency and that, you know, it was an emergency to the effect that congregating large numbers of individuals together would cause the virus to spread more. One of the unique things that I took note of, two actually, one, as Dr. Wilson mentioned, sending our students back into environments that were not at the most conducive for their learning, whether it be from personal interaction. HBCUs are, and in colleges and universities in general, are havens. They're safe havens for a number of students for a number of reasons, whether it's LGBTQ plus students or whether it's some other domestic challenge that may be presented in the home. Coming to the campus is in some regards an outlet from those environments. And so the fear of that on our students, the impact of that fear on our students weighed on our minds considerably at the university, as well as what will be the mental impacts, the mental health impacts of these changes. Not only the changes of not being around your friends, your colleagues, your professors, or that loving, learning, nurturing environment that HBCUs, that family atmosphere that we promulgate and have promulgated for years, having access to that has somewhat of a mental impact. Studies are beginning to come out to identify some of those challenges and issues, and but anecdotally, we did recognize that, and that was unique because students come, they have this home away from home environment on the campus, and they build new friends, they build new relationships, and they're pursuing a dream. And so for that dream to be disrupted in this way was very challenging to a number of students in their progress towards degree. And moving to the online learning environment alone was a challenge. We're fortunate at Alcorn that we had previously been approved by SACS, our accreditation body, to offer our courses online. And so it made our transition a little bit smoother, but a number of our universities and colleges were disadvantaged in that regard. And so thankfully, SACS made some adjustments and some, I wouldn't say waivers, but worked with universities to get them the support they needed.
Thank you. Dr. Towner,
Well,
did you want to add anything?
Sure. I mean, Dr. Wilson brought up an excellent point as it relates to the lack of having a conducive atmosphere. I mean, I was privileged to be able to bring student leaders together on Zoom calls of some nature virtually and just get some real sage insights as to what they were experiencing. And they would tell you, again, that a lot of the home atmospheres were not just supportive enough. And I can imagine that. I mean, we were essential employees coming to work, but could have stayed at home, but I preferred to come to work because I could, work is a better place to work. But along also not only with the lack of a conducive atmosphere, there were also monetary challenges. I mean, if you take a student that had, for a street lingo, that kicked out of the dorm or kicked off campus, or they have to move abruptly. Well, that's they have to find a way to get home. We had some students that were out of state. They had to, get a ticket or some sort. They couldn't take all their belongings immediately. They had to leave them somewhere. So those things were tough. So there were some monetary challenges as well. Keeping in mind too, if they are on campus, they have a lot of things fixed for them. So now, meals and so forth. And now I'm sure we're going to talk about that. There's some refunds given, but I mean, it was, definitely tough for those students in a number of ways that I think that most of us would be very surprised to learn about.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson, has your university been able to benefit from the federal or state level coronavirus funding? And
Yes,
how
we
are
have.
those dollars leveraged?
Yeah, we were able to get federal dollars. We have not yet heard from the state, even though we know that money was passed on to the governor of the state to be redistributed as he saw fit. We haven't heard anything about that yet, but certainly we've got money from the federal government. And in the first installment, half of that, those funds were to be returned to students. One of the important advantage of that support from the federal government is that in terms of tuition owed, and we have seen the lowest, I understand, in many, many years, in that some of that money went directly back to students. And so they were able to clear back tuition. And that may be explaining why so many of them are already registered for next semester, and sufficient of them registered for the summer semester. So there is a little bit of boom, or a little bit of blessing in the challenges that we can report. But I just want to refer back to what our colleagues were discussing a moment ago. It would surprise you that once we issue the order to clear campus, some kids didn't have anywhere to go. So it's not just the place where they come during the semester, but in that period, some of them are really homeless and don't have any place to go. But our community got together and we were able to deal with those issues. Thank God that we were able to find places for these. We had overseas students that some of them were able to get out before the lockdown, and others we were able to find, parents, surrogate parents for them. Wow. So it was challenging, but like Tougaloo, we rose to the challenges and found solutions.
Great. Wow. So I'm coming back to you, Mr. Ward. Talk about any benefits, federal or state funding, and how you were able to leverage those dollars.
Well, actually, the funding that we have received has been very helpful to us. And when I think a poll was done, or a call was done, that indicated somewhere around less than 1% of universities had completed the paperwork to start receiving the funds as early as maybe a month ago. And so we were one of the universities that I'm proud of our team at Alcorn. We jumped on it immediately and were able to realize our approval process and get our funds flowing to the university. There's still funds flowing to the university from the state. The legislature is meeting right now to finalize some additional funding for state institutions, community colleges, and public universities. And so we look forward to seeing the disbursement of those funds and how they will be used to help benefit the university. One positive that anecdotally that I would like to highlight, I think has impacted us, is our summer school registration. We've seen an uptick in summer school registration, and summer allows students to either get ahead or to catch up on their school and their classes and get their grades in order. And so we've seen somewhat of an uptick in our summer school enrollments. And I'd like to submit that it's possibly due to the fact that students don't have to move onto campus, that it's online, it's available online completely. So more students are possibly able to take advantage of it, along with some of their, while doing their, if there are some virtual internships and virtual summer programs that they're participating in that still continued throughout the COVID-19. So we're looking forward to using funds to continue to invest in our technology at the university, to continue to prepare the campus from a sanitation standpoint, and to work to make sure that we're helping to educate our community about the challenges of COVID. The data immediately here in Mississippi indicated that the community we primarily serve has been the most adverse impacted. And so we're looking forward to doing things in that area going forward.
Thank you. Dr. Towner, from the community college standpoint, were you able to leverage any state or federal dollars there at Coma?
Yes, and let me say from the outset, if we didn't have help from the federal government, waiting on the state to come, we're getting in line, we would be closed. Just like you're hearing about a lot of other um, for-profit companies, we would not be able to make it. It just wouldn't be sustainable. I am concerned about whether or not we're going to be able to continue to get funds, but we've done some, we've been empowered to do some wonderful things. Again, we had to refund, rightly so, about close to 40% of uh, monies given that students had given for rooms as well as the cafeteria, room and board. We were able to issue those funds back to those refunds back to students, rightly so, and we're going to get reimbursed for that loss. We've also, this small school of mine, slightly under 2,000 students, we've issued out about $1 million in refunds directly from the government. I mean, sizable refunds. They're not really refunds, they're stimuluses, so to speak, for students. So that's been a delight to be able to put that money in the hands of students who need that help. We have been given a good amount of money, over $1 million, for personal protective equipment, technology such as, again, the devices as well as the internet access. We've been given, so for technology as well as for professional development, because Dr. Wilson mentioned that we had to equip faculty who were accustomed to brick and mortar. Now they have to be able to impart knowledge via distant format. That's not, a given for all of the faculty members. So we've had money for that. So it's been wonderful. We even had a lot of unique support. Woodward Hines, not only for just Kahoma, but the entire system, gave money. We had a sizable amount of money, what we call sizable, for our school. And this money was to be used exclusively for students. So we set up a committee, and students that were in need, they met that specter of guidelines, wrote checks to them because of Woodward Hines. And I could just go on and on, about the number of other entities that have come up, but the government has been big. I mean, really big. Waiting on Mississippi, excited about what they're going to do. We're going to get in line. Oh, I will say this. We're there are 15 community colleges. 2 are officially HBCUs. So we were able to get a sizable amount of money for HBCUs, much to the chagrin of our non-HBCU schools. But we're excited about that too. Just thinking about how we're going to be able to use those funds to help our students.
Great. So are there any tech companies, and this question is for any of you panelists that would like to answer, are there any tech companies that are working with you to offer computers or hotspots to students or faculty?
This is Marcus. I can comment briefly on that. We received a small grant from Verizon and from Honda. We received a small grant from Verizon to start an HBCU Girls in STEM program that's going to outfit those young ladies with technology and tools to learn and become better, STEM majors and pursue careers in STEM areas. And then Honda, as you know, HBCUs participate in the Honda Campus All-Star Challenge, if you're familiar with that. It's been going on for over 30 years or so now. Honda sent all of the schools that are members of the Honda Campus All-Star program small grants of $7,000 or so to help provide technology tools or any other support and assistance to students to help them get through the COVID-19.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson or Dr. Towner?
Yeah, we got some support from non-governmental sources. Mellon Foundation, for example, sent us a grant exclusively for students, and we were able to use those funds. We are also in conversations with a number of entities right now, because COVID, the results of COVID will be felt for many, many years to come. It's not over. And so we are still pursuing ways in which we can equip our students and provide the necessary technology for the transfer, if ever that becomes necessary.
Yeah, we're in line. We're applying for competitive grants, but we have not had a single company come to and just say, "Here's some funds for your discretion." Not yet, anyway.
Okay. So historically, Black colleges and universities have a long-standing, rich history in the Black community. Um, Mr. Ward, what can alumni, parents, and students expect in the fall? Are we going to get the bands? Are we going to get homecoming? What should we expect?
Well,
Getting football games?
that's a good question. Uh,
We
I,
don't know.
yeah, I can't predict the future. That'll be my first response. But we are preparing, honestly. The university has a Safe Start task force that is working through all of these challenges, and athletics is a major component of the work that we will do to prepare the campus for any eventuality. Our traditions are strong and long, but we also have a tradition of care in our communities. And we've always maintained that tradition, and it's a moral obligation of care. I think there was an acronym, HOBO or whatever it was, help a brother out or something like that. That we've maintained for centuries, and so we've got to keep that in mind through this pandemic. That it's not over. We're still in the first phase of it. We have to take into consideration the social distancing practices that need to be ensued in those environments. But I do believe we will be able to present and provide some sense of those traditions this fall, as long as the government and we as a people work to make sure that we do everything we can to slow the spread, reduce the spread, and maintain safety, health and safety of all people as a primary objective in anything we do. Our student athletes are reporting back already, or starting to report back at various universities. And we're already seeing tests come back positive at some schools across the country, not just HBCUs. And so we have to educate, inform, and protect ourselves. If we don't, who will? And while some traditions may have to be delayed for a temporary basis this year, until a vaccine or other therapeutics are put into place, we're going to try and do everything we can to maintain the new normal with respect for our traditions.
What should we expect at Tougaloo in the fall?
Well,
What are we going to see?
Well, just as my colleague said, safety is first. We are very aware that the risks are going to be many, and therefore we are planning, just like everybody else, with hope and faith, but we are not sure exactly what will happen. Our athletes will be coming back. We are going to delay the start of face-to-face interaction on campus, even though we're not going to delay instruction, because we are trying as much as possible to finish our semester by Thanksgiving, because all the routines that we have to put in place to get them back here safely, if we send them home for Thanksgiving, we have to redo all of those again. And so we have adjusted our calendar and made some significant changes in how we're going to operate to make sure that we cater first for the safety of our students. They will come back, but we will delay until everybody gets accustomed to the new routines that they have to follow to maintain safety and the well-being of everybody. So we're preparing, walking a little bit in the dark, but we've got our fate that is taking us through. So,
Thank you. And what should we expect at Kahoma?
Well, expect to have a high level. Well, the path that lies ahead is highly liquid, so to speak. There's going to be a lot of changes. We're planning, start August 3rd. Student athletes come in about the same time. The football season has already been adjusted to have a delayed start. You know, we will also conclude the fall semester, I think the Friday before Thanksgiving or the Thursday before Thanksgiving. And, but, you know, so we're making plans with the understanding that they are subject to change with, and so we need to have a lot of resiliency, which our people will have, and we're certainly going to do what is best for our students and staff. We've had an inordinate number of infections in our area. In fact, a good number of deaths actually, and with people that we know. So we're going to do what we can to ensure that people remain safe and healthy.
Okay. So this is a question from the Facebook Live. How do you feel the image of HBCUs have been? What do you feel the image is right now? I'm leaving it wide open.
Yeah, I think our image of care, our image of resilience, and our capacity to rise above our challenges are going to shine a little brighter still. There are going to be severe challenges to the financial viability of institutions after COVID. And you know our profile, we never have sufficient and more than today. And we are going to be there. We're not going anywhere. We're grateful for our alumni who have risen to the challenges and are supporting. Tougaloo has a very supportive board of governors, and they have been rallying, checking in, making sure that we are doing okay. And I think that spirit of caring, that spirit of community will be what will get us past any negative images. There are going to be challenges because this has suddenly thrust itself upon us. We didn't have to do it. And with all the other challenges we have, we've got to rise to this one, but we will rise. That's a familiar term, right? We will, still yes. We rise, still we rise.
Yeah. Yeah. I would add, Dr. Wilson definitely hit the nail on the head. We will rise. And we see that rise happening not only because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but because of other issues that are happening in the world right now and in this country. The other socioeconomic and racial issues that are happening. HBCUs are at the forefront of those issues. And right. I think COVID-19 has helped shine, I think, a positive light on the importance and the significance of HBCUs. You're seeing more and more student athletes from predominant institutions speaking out about transferring to HBCUs or opening up HBCUs into their recruiting pipeline, that they're looking at HBCUs first. And so there's I wouldn't say a newfound, but maybe a new attention, a new perspective of HBCUs that is out there, and a new significance of HBCUs in moving this nation forward. And our resilience and our steadfastness through COVID-19 will definitely demonstrate and only enhance the strengths and the opportunities that HBCUs present to all people, and particularly to our communities. And so, you know, I think there's an old African proverb that talks about to go far and to go fast, you know, to go fast, go alone, to go far, go together. And as we unite together, I believe HBCUs will make it through this and we'll go very far.
So is testing for COVID a part of any of your plans for reopening?
Good question.
Are you going to require testing? What type of COVID measures do you have and are you planning currently? I know this may change. Dr.
Towner, you want to take that one first?
Well, we would test our student athletes will be tested on their arriving to campus. We have an articulation agreement with a local healthcare provider, Henry Services, Of course, that's only good for the moment that they take the test. We have ordered a ton of what do you call them? A ton of I just got right here these
Antibodies?
temperature digital thermometers. We also have screeners that our dorms will have, as well as certain locations across campus. So we have a number of things. We will test to answer your question. The short form. We will test, even though the testing is not a panacea, because again, it only captures that moment. But we want to find out, as best as we can. So, yeah. But you're right. Things are going to change as we get in more information and see what other people are doing across the country.
So what can alumni do to help you? What can community do to help you? We are here for you. So what do you need from us, Dr. Wilson? What does Tougaloo need from the alumni and the community and parents?
We need your support, both, in terms, and you know where I'm going. We would need more money than ever before, but we understand the complex situation of finances at this point, because lots of our people have lost jobs and may not be able to give. But I firmly believe that as we give, we are blessed. So despite our personal challenges, giving a little, you will see that come back to you in great dividends. But more than that, we need the support of our alumni and our community. Operating under the challenges that we have has never been easy. And the extra burden of criticism, and it's not that we don't want to be criticized. We want to be scrutinized. We want to hear from alumni. But what we need at this time is exactly what you're asking us. Hey, guys, ask us what we need. We'll tell you. Sometimes if you don't ask, we'll tell you. And our wonderful Vice President for Development will be calling. We'll be talking to you. She is wonderful at what she does. And I know that my president and she will be in touch with our alumni. Our community is rallying behind us. We have had approaches from companies asking us what they can do. And we're working with one of them right now. We have had support from our legislatures asking us what they can do. And we are very, very pleased about the response from Tougaloo. Remember, Tougaloo doesn't get support from other sources other than its tuition and some auxiliary enterprises. So we need all the support we can get, and trust giving some away and see what the good Lord will do for you. So.
Thank you. Dr. Towner, what do you need from the community and from the alumni?
Well, talk us up. Talk us up. Well, I readily admit I'm not an expert. I'm not an epidemiologist or never been a president during a time of pandemic. And so we need your support. Talk us up. Have a lot of understanding, because there are things that we normally in the past were able to do, we're just not able to do. For instance, homecoming. It wouldn't surprise me that we're not able to have homecoming. As it stands today, we cannot have homecoming like we've had in the past because of the social distancing requirements. We only can have football games with about 20% of the crowd. And so we need you to talk us up, give us some understanding, have an understanding, give us some feedback as well. I mean, we have our people sort of on the line and attitude that we're not above learning and from any source or any person. And last thing I would do is, since it's this Friday, not Sunday, I would say intercede for us.
Yes, sir.
I unashamedly have to admit that I had to have help that comes from another realm. So intercede for us. If it were Sunday, I would say pray for us, but since it's not Sunday. But intercede for us. We need all the help that we can get. You know, a lot of grace, a lot of mercy.
Thank you. Mr. Ward, what do you need at Alcorn? What do you need from us?
Well, you should not ask a professional fundraiser that question in a Zoom setting. So I'm going to just lay it all out there. And Dr. Wilson mentioned it, but I definitely want to highlight the efforts and the support we get from Dr. Felicia M. Nave, the 20th president of Alcorn State University, at Alcorn State University. I'm going to say it in three short words: ASU. We need your assistance, we need your support, and we need your understanding. And if we can get ASU to get behind ASU, I believe we can move forward. I'm going to make a plug here. We have our Giving Day, first ever, on next Tuesday, June the 30th. So any Alcornites right now, we look forward to exceeding our goal of raising $150,000 to help support student scholarships in the advanced university. So ASU is what we need: assistance, support, and understanding from our alumni. And without question, the prayers and interceding of all people for the future of higher education.
So any closing comments, Dr. Wilson?
Absolutely. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to talk to our community in this forum. Our president, Dr. Carmen Walters, sends her greetings. I would have liked her to come. She is such an awesome spokesperson for the university, and we want you to pray for her and to support her in this endeavor. We love our leadership, and the history of our female leaders of HBCUs have not been good over the years. Let's support this one to the fullest we can and make sure that not only she succeeds, but Tougaloo succeeds, and we will.
Thank you. Dr. Towner, any closing remarks?
Yes, TGIF. And great. I'm thankful and grateful to NAACP and One Voice for putting this together. Also indebted to both of the schools, Tougaloo and Alcorn. You know, we a lot of our work that we do here at Coahoma is in an effort to try to make certain that we send good students to those institutions. Right. Because we think that they are doing a phenomenal, they're great institutions, they do a phenomenal job. And so we're so happy to be on the platform with them. Lastly, also too, you know, just everybody should know, you know, HBCUs, this is a prime time for us to shine, because this is what we do. I mean, we take care of the totality. We nurture and repair students all the time. So what the pandemic is highlighting and making everybody do, HBCU's been doing this all the time. I mean, we Tougaloo does it, Alcorn does it. You know, all of our HBCUs do it. So we're learning to do it at a deeper level, but we're still going to continue to do it, and we look forward to seeing and hearing some great things happening with all the HBCUs, particularly in the state of Mississippi. Thank you.
Mr. Ward, closing comments from Alcorn.
Well, once again, I also want to say thank you for a wonderful afternoon conversation about the strengths and the attributes of HBCUs. I am a passionate supporter and advocate for HBCUs. I want to thank One Voice and NAACP, Dr. Corey Wiggins, the executive director, Reverend Robert James, the president of Mississippi NAACP, for putting this together. And I also want to highlight the fact that we do have two Alcornites on this panel today. So I would be remiss if I did not make that acknowledgement. But going back to what Dr. Wilson said, we have to support our leaders. Our community needs to support our leaders. We want to thank all of the community that has responded so far to help keep our universities strong and stable throughout this pandemic. One thing we will all be able to look back on 10, 15, 20 years ago, 20 years from now, is that we made it. We don't want to look back and say that COVID-19 took any of our universities under, that we made it through COVID-19. And if we can make it through COVID-19, and we can make it through Jim Crow, and we can make it through the civil rights era, and we can make it through great recessions, then there's no question that HBCUs are meant to be and will make it for the future.
Thank you so much. I want to thank each of you for participating. Thank you, Mr. Ward from Alcorn. Thank you, Dr. Towner from Coahoma Community College. And thank you, Dr. Wilson from Tougaloo. We really appreciate all of the work you put in to shape our future leaders. We just couldn't be great without you. I also want to say a special thank you to One Voice and their executive director, Nashambi Lambright Hayes, and of course the Mississippi NAACP, Dr. Corey Wiggins, who's the executive director, and state president, Reverend Robert James. So we thank you all for watching and participating on this Friday afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.